Good morning. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to Financial Lovemaking. This is where we get together and we talk about love, life, money, and everything in between, and how to use money as a way to build your relationships as opposed to destroy them. And I'm here with my good buddy out of New York, Miss S. Tia Brown. She's the entertainment director at Jet Magazine. How are you doing today, Tia?
I'm doing great. It's awesome to talk to you as usual, and I'm very excited about today's topic. Go ahead and start spilling.
We're going to talk about sex tapes.
No pun intended.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, we are here to talk about sex tapes, and I'm starting to realize that must be the way to be successful. I just thought, I'm not that old. Like, it's never too late to make your first sex tape, and
you're considering doing one yourself?
Look, hey, how often have you ever seen professors make sex tapes? Like, that would just be explosive, don't you think? I think that would be like
Professor Triple X.
There we go, right. Or let's get together and play doctor, right? Remember you used to play doctor when you were a little kid, right? See, you got doctor, get it? That's okay. Anyway, I want to ask you, so I saw this thing with Mimi, and I was sort of like, okay, well, this is love and hip hop going way too far. And it was funny because I saw the producers were actually encouraging her to release the sex tape because they knew it would promote the show. What did you think when you saw all this kind of go down?
Well, first, let's give our listeners, viewers, a little bit of background about the tape. Mimi Faust is a character on Love and Hip Hop, which is a reality show on VH1. The show is I believe it's third season. It's based in Atlanta, and the premise of the show is following the lives of people who are in the hip hop industry as they're dating and building families and, just trying to conquer romance. Of course, money is a big thing. Now, the interesting thing about Mimi's storyline is that the first season we see her trying to maintain a monogamous relationship with a producer/singer named CJ. Stevie had tremendous success in the industry in the 90s. He was affiliated with Bad Boy. He was affiliated with lots of successful artists. However, we know that the industry goes up and down, and his career kind of waned. Stevie is also a notorious Lothario, a cheat who has no shame in his game. And during the course of the first season, we see that he is having a relationship with Mimi, who he has a young child with. He also has, I think, about 6 other children with various women who were older. They had a toddler together, but he also was in a relationship with a stripper who he was molding into an artist. And we see on the first season that he eventually decides that he would rather be with Jocelyn, who's the stripper, who's spoken, very frankly about having sex for money, about being a get-it girl, about being with women, about, getting hers, and he kind of puts Mimi aside. Now, Mimi, her whole thing is, I'm a good woman, I've been faithful to you, I've been loyal to you, I've held you down, and you choose her. I am the prize that you should have picked. I am a woman of high character and high esteem. 2 seasons later, we see that Mimi, with her new boyfriend, and his name is Nico, he's also an artist producer, is releasing a sex tape at the top of their season. Now, they are in an exclusive relationship or a serious relationship. Exclusive means many different things to people nowadays. And like you said, boys, the producers are actually helping to push this sex tape. And I've seen, little excerpts already where we see her performing oral sex on this man. We see them in the shower having sex. We see them on the bed with her legs tossed up. She has a daughter who's about 4 or 5 years old at this point. And, it's just really sad that I think that people feel in celebrity, and I'm not talking about talent-driven celebrity. Just to be famous, you now have to have a sex tape to up your game. And honestly, given the type of format that Mimi is in, I understand where she's coming from. Jocelyn is one of the most popular characters on the show, and she's known for getting it in. She's made no qualms about it. Other women, even some of the other men on the show, Benzino, who's a male character on the show, a producer, publisher of Hip Hop Weekly, released a naked picture of himself with his penis showing. So sex sells. Can we be mad at these folks, boys? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I guess you're talking about sex selling, and we're talking about financial love banking. So I guess that's what they're doing, right? It's financial,
Right.
and it's using love and sex as a way to do that. And I would say though that at the end of the day, we have to admit that this is definitely cheapening the culture, particularly when we talk about the impact that it has on urban culture, the African American community, on young women and young men. Because one thing that we have to understand too is that behind every situation where we're glorifying the get it girl and the get it boy, there's a whole string of trauma, bad decisions, STDs, all kinds of other things that are kind of happening here. And so I think that, if you want to get to the point where you're just not judging people's sexual choices, you have to also understand that love and sex are two of the most powerful forces in the universe, right? I mean, sex is literally the creation of human life. There's nothing there, and then suddenly two people merge, and it's like a big bang. The seed grows into a human being, into a life. And so when you see a guy like Stevie J, who's wagging his penis at any working vagina, throwing his seed all over the country, spitting out kids, like yesterday's lunch meat, you have to think, well, how does this affect the lives of those children? You saw where Stevie J was literally $1 million behind in child support. And so think about what kind of life you have to live to have 6 kids with a bunch of women and be $1 million behind in child support. That probably means, number one, you're having a whole lot of unprotected sex. And anybody who looks at CDC statistics sees that STD rates are through the roof. HIV rates are flying, especially amongst African American women. And what's really crazy to me is that HIV has gotten so bad that we don't even talk about all the other diseases that can go bump in your vagina, like herpes, syphilis, gonorrhea, all these other things that are being passed around left and right. And we're kind of celebrating this. We're enjoying this, right? It's fun, it's exciting, it's interesting until it gets real. So what I think is my greatest concern as a human being, as a father, as a member of the world, of society, is the lack of balance. When you're sort of really celebrating and glorifying and marketing gluttonous behavior without any semblance of accountability for that behavior, you're really creating a very sloppy society. Because when you make all those kids grow up unhappy, traumatized, depressed, because they've got parents who are thinking so much about getting it in that they're not thinking about actually being good parents and actually raising good children and putting them in a situation where they're likely to succeed and be happy. What do you think?
I completely agree, and I'll have 2 points. The first one is about trauma. We talk about the kids' trauma, but let's not forget that the adults who are acting out in this way have experienced trauma too. One of the good things about a lot of these reality shows is that we do get into the backstories of the characters. We know that Mimi's mother was in Scientology, and many people say that it has cult-like behavior, and Mimi has expressed being abandoned by her mother and having a huge loneliness and, just a sense of longing to be part of a family, part of a team. And that has tremendously contributed to her attachment to Stevie J and her other behaviors. And we also know that Stevie J's mother abandoned him when he was a child. Now, he did have a father, but it's resulted in a lot of anger and disrespect towards women. He has a very, high and low relationship. Like, he'll love you, but in the background, he's doing dirty things. So when we look at the reality show, we can't just look at the behavior of the adults and say, oh, this is bad, what's it doing to the kids. We can also take time to reflect on how it affects the adults and how it affects other adults who are going through similar things. Because a lot of times viewers look at these shows and it's like, oh yeah, like you said, they're getting it in, they're winning. But how are you processing her? How will you behave? How will you allow the trauma in your past to shape your life? Will you allow it to define you? The other thing is coming back to money. Now, we always know that, finances are a huge thing in relationships. And with Mimi and this specific guy, the sex tape can be a means to an end financially, right? Like if it sells well, they might have their own spin-off show. They may have, more money for different things. Obviously it can be lucrative. But at what cost? At what cost are you willing to put money before having a healthy relationship, a private relationship, and, kind of guarding what's sacred? So I definitely think that, having a sex tape can be somewhat of a foot in to a very lucrative market, but it's kind of like opening Pandora's box. And frankly, most people don't have the spin control that someone like a Kim Kardashian had, with the brilliant Kris Jenner behind her, who's her mother, really helping to shape what opportunities came for her after she released that sex tape. What do you think, Boyce?
Well, let's be real, too. Kim Kardashian's not black. Anybody who wants to understand the difference
between... Hit it on the nose.
There you go. Right. Exactly. I mean, if you really want to know the difference between Kim Kardashian and Mimi, go look at Larry Fishburne's daughter, Montana Fishburne, who literally was advised by Kim Kardashian to go out and make a sex tape to get her name out there. She went into the porn industry. She went hard. And now years later, she's going around preaching to young girls not to do what she did because it'll ruin you. The industry's dirty. Bad things happen to you. It's very difficult to recover. But the problem is she can't recover, right? Those tapes are made. They're out there. They're going to be there for her grandchildren to see. And so, again, without judging how people choose to express their sexuality, I think that there is a point where people have to sort of ask themselves, is this sort of thing being done responsibly? Why is VH1 sort of taking the very worst of African American culture and really marketing it, it's at the highest levels, where it's one thing if you have a Stevie J and a Mimi acting out based on trauma that they experienced as children, but now you have millions of other children who are watching this, who are coming from healthy families, who are rejecting the healthy aspect of their lives and really grabbing onto and embracing the things that they see glorified every day in media. You have little girls growing up in school saying, my goal in life is to grow up and become a basketball wife, because media...
The craziest thing ever.
It is. And media is the ultimate educator. Anybody who thinks media is not like going to school every day is out of their freaking mind. You've never taken a psychology class. This stuff does affect your kids. If you go back 20 years, when A Different World was advertised on NBC every Thursday night, HBCU attendance went up because every black kid was saying, oh my God, HBCUs, there you go, you're one of them. HBCUs are so great, I want to do that. So think about the fact that you saw the impact of what HBCU advertising was doing. What do you think this advertising that we're seeing every day is doing? It's having the exact same effect, except I would even argue that the impact is even greater than what Cosby was able to have back in the day. And so I think that this lack of balance is really the problem. That when I watch a show like Love and Hip Hop, I don't see anything that has a whole lot to do with love. I see lust and sex. But I'm like, okay, where is really the love, and what does love really mean? I think love is in its best form is supposed to be something that's healthy, something that empowers you, something that helps you live a better and wealthier life. What I see there are people making very bad choices in highly dysfunctional relationships that ultimately lead them to more heartache, more financial devastation, more trauma, and just bad experiences. And we're not even talking about what's happening physically when you're going from one lover to the next. I mean, I think that's one aspect that people don't talk about. But believe me, there are a whole lot of people who are suffering in silence because they went to the doctor and found out they had some horrible disease and they're ashamed of telling anybody. But really, that's kind of what happens. When you run around and you're sleeping with a whole bunch of different people, you will get infected with something. And I think that people need to lay that on the table, too. I'll let you get the last word.
I absolutely agree. Well, you've heard what we think about this topic, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in to Financial Lovemaking, and until next time.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.